example, plays, works, sings. Now in case if I have to use the plural form, now when I have to use a plural form, if I have to use plural form, drop the S at the end of the verb, which means if I have to talk about the same examples, I will remove the S at the end of the verb. So remember it that way. If it's a singular verb, add S. If it's plural verb, drop the S. So in case if your subject is singular, use S at the end of the verb. If the subject is plural, drop the S at the end of the verb. Okay? Let me show you some examples to help you understand this better. I'm going to use all singular verbs here. He plays cricket. She sings very well. It rains every evening. So if you pay attention to the verbs here, action, I am adding an S at the end of it because my subject is singular. Now if I have to use a plural verb, plural subject, they play cricket. They, or for example, she is singing very well. Now that my subject is plural, I just say they are singing very well because are is a plural form of is. It rains every day. Now there cannot be a situation in terms of a climate for plurality, so we'll leave it at that. Okay? So when you have a situation like this where you are bound to get confused, the players and umpire is tired or are tired? It should be are tired. That's because when I'm using and, I'm combining these two. Even if it's player and umpire, I'm combining. But in the second case, this is where you will get confused. The players or the umpire is tired or are tired. Here you will use is tired because this is an or situation. So if it is or, after the or, the subject, the closest subject is umpire, which is singular form. And if I have a singular subject, I will use singular verb. Okay? So when we look at some more questions, you will be able to identify more such situation. Now when you see a question, you will be able to identify what should be the correct answer. Alright? So let's move on. Let's look at this question again. Number 6. Ram and his team dash recently won a tournament. Now this is a trick question because Ram is part of the team and team is a collective form. It just won. Ram and his team have recently won? No. Ram and his team has, because it's a singular form. The subject is singular, so I'll use has. Number 7, please make a note of this question. They dash put in all the hard work for the success of the team. They dash put in all the hard work for the success of the team. Now they is a plural form. Now if I have a plural form, I will use plural verb. What is the rule? Drop the S. So I have this particular verb which doesn't have an S, So I will use they have put in all the hard work for the team. Number 8, I think we dash the training session next quarter. Now next quarter means it's in the future. I think we dash the next session, the training session next quarter. I think we begin, no, we will begin the training session next quarter. We are beginning, no, that's not the right form. We are going to begin, that is again a incorrect form because it's a transliteration. So we will begin the training session next quarter. Tomorrow we dash at 2 p.m. Tomorrow we will meet, we meet, we are going to meet, we are meeting. So number 9, this is very easy. So look at the question and think what is the correct answer. Tomorrow we will meet at 2 p.m. So A. Could you please dash me some money? Could you please borrow me or lend me? Borrow means take from me. Lend means give me. So could you please lend me some money? Number 11, I don't mind dash if you are tired. I don't mind to drive. I don't mind driving. I don't mind to be driving. I don't mind drive. So number 11, look at it, think and answer. I don't mind driving if you are tired. So option B. They arrived dash we were having dinner. They arrived while we were having dinner, when we were having dinner, during we were having dinner, for we were having dinner. So number 12, think what is the correct answer, and meanwhile you will see the number flash on your screen 040-2354-0326 or the toll-free number 1-800-425-4039. If you have any questions about the portions that's been completed so far, which is pronunciation and a little aspects of grammar. If you have any questions, please call and ask your question. I will provide you the answer. Alright. So let's continue with number 12. They arrived while we were having dinner. So A is the correct answer. Number 13. They have sold dash car which they won in a lottery. They have sold dash car which they won in a lottery. T-H-E-R-E there, T-H-E-I-R there. This is fairly easy. I just spoke about difference between preposition and possession noun or pronoun. But here it's a trick question. The correct answer is C. In this case, they have won the car in the lottery. So denotively speaking, C is the correct answer. They have sold the car which they won in a lottery. Number 14, I dash worked for this company since 1998. I worked, I am working, I work, I have worked. Now to answer this question, we need to understand something fundamental. Now let me explain. This is one mistake where a lot of us get confused or make a mistake. From versus since. Okay. This is a preposition in terms of time. If I am using from, I should be using from when I have specifics on when did it start and when did it end. Okay. I will use since when the stated time continues. What do I mean by this? Let me show you an example. I lived in Bangalore from 2004 till 2006, which means it has ended. So I can use the word from. If I have to continue in the same way, I am living in Hyderabad since 10 years, which means I am still living there, which means the time is still continuing. Okay? So question number 14, when you look at it, I dash for this company since 1998, which means I am still working there. So the correct answer is B. I am working for this company since 98. Number 15, she dashed me to help her develop an IT training program. She has asked, she have asked. Can I use have? I just spoke about subject verb agreement, right? I can't use have because she is a singular form. She has asked me to help her to develop an IT training program. So option A. So verb types, verb is action. It signals an action, an occurrence, or a state of being, whether mental, physical, or mechanical. Verb always expresses activity, right? Anything in terms of action. Verbs in English have 4 basic parts. Now pay attention. The base form, the ing form, which is a continuous form, the past tense form, the past participle. Now something that you need to remember, we have studied all this in our school, right? We went through basic grammar in our school days, but we don't really remember the rules, but we only remember the usage. Look at it this way. There is something that has already happened, which is past. There is something which is present, a perfect present or continuous form. For example, I am talking, which means it's going on right now. Or I will talk tomorrow, that's a future tense. I spoke yesterday, and that is past tense. Any action that we are talking about, that action has to be relative to a time. Has it happened? Is it happening now, or will it happen in the future? Okay? So keep that in mind in terms of these aspects. A verb has to be in sync with tense. Let's look at some examples. The lines are still open, so please do call. It starts with an expression, hi, I dash you in a long time. How have you been? I was seen, I saw, I haven't seen, I hadn't seen. So think and answer. What is the correct answer for question number 1? Option C is the correct answer. Hi, I haven't seen you in a long time. How have you been? Number 2, yesterday I dashed to see my grandparents. Yesterday is a past tense, so I need to use an option which is past. Yesterday I have gone. Yesterday I gone. No. Yesterday I went to see my grandparents. Number 3, some people say that it is better to dash for today. Better to, this is a proverb, right? It's a saying. Better to is living, better to living, better to lives, better to live. It's better to live for today. Have you ever dashed to Canada? Now have you ever basically means, it's a past tense. Have you ever been to Canada? Being is a state. Been means if there was an action involved there. Albert doesn't like dash on weekends. Albert doesn't like working. Albert doesn't like to work. Albert doesn't like work. Now doesn't like work, Doesn't make sense. So our answer 1 and 2 are correct. So option D is perfect. He occasionally is a headache in the morning. He occasionally should be a headache in the morning. He occasionally might be, could be. Now this is in terms of an adjective. So all of the above are correct. So we have various such questions. You can look up simple tests online as well. You will find tons of questions. The best way to learn is to test yourself and find what is the correct answer. We cannot learn grammar in terms of rules anymore. We already learned it, but we don't remember because we don't use it. So if you remember it in terms of usage, if you keep practicing, if you keep testing yourself, that will help you remember for a long time. So grammar is something which is extensive, but you need to put yourself in use. I cannot teach you in a classroom environment. Even when the lines are open, nobody is actually calling and asking questions. So I don't know what seems to be wrong there. So in the next session, that is on Monday, I'll move on to verbal ability, where we will look at certain instances, how to solve certain questions and certain situations. If you have questions, please post your questions on the YouTube channel. I'll take a look and provide you the answer. And thanks for tuning in. Make the best use of your day. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's session. I hope you had a great festival back home. So we are talking about communication skills as a part of the ESC program, the Employability Skills Center program. Now this program is getting beamed across the state of Andhra Pradesh. You can either watch it on the satellite television, Mana TV, as well as the YouTube channel of Mana TV. You can watch it live on YouTube. And in case if you have missed, you can look it up in the playlist of Mana TV and you can watch the program and pose your questions. Now, this program, as a part of the initiative of AP State Skill Development Corporation, is meant to bridge the gap between what the students have in terms of the skills and competencies and what the industry is looking for. And one very essential and critical aspect of that is communication skills. So I had been speaking about communication, where I spoke about the 4 fundamental pillars of oral communication. I am on the first pillar, which is pronunciation. Today we'll talk about the last segment of pronunciation, and then we'll move on to grammar. As the first segment of pronunciation, we learnt the sounds. We learned how there are 24 consonant sounds and 15 vowel sounds, how they are different from vowels and consonants. We have 21 consonants and 5 vowels, but we have 24 consonant sound and 15 vowel sounds. Now the importance of this vowel sound I had been talking about in detail, the importance of consonant sound, vowel sound, everything in detail. The last session we did some practice around words, how to break it into syllables, how to break it into consonant and vowel sounds, and today we'll look it up in detail when it comes to syllable. And we'll also learn something new, which is syllable stress. So syllable is a beat of a sound, like I explained in the last segment, a unit of pronunciation carrying one vowel sound with or without surrounding consonants, forming the whole or part of word. So what I mean to say is, when it says pronunciation carrying one vowel sound, which means every vowel sound will constitute a particular syllable. So number of vowel sound is equivalent to number of syllable. Please do not confuse that with vowels itself. It's vowel sound. Let me show you an example and that will help you understand. Let me expand this a little bit so that you can see it clearly. All right. Take for example, I have a word which is country. Okay. All right. Now, how many consonants do I have? I am only talking about consonants and not consonant sounds. So I have C, N, T, R, Y. So C, N, T, R, Y, these are consonants. And vowels, I have O and U. Now, let's look at how many consonant sounds we have. So we have K, N, T, R. Country. We have just 4 consonant sounds. And how many vowel sounds you have? We have K, then we have E, country. So number of vowel sound will define number of syllable. So how do I break it into syllable? If I have to break this word, country. Okay. Now I may have a word where there are multiple or say more number of vowels but less number of vowel sounds. Let's quickly look at one such example. Okay, I have the word photography here. It's actually pronounced as photography. Now, how many consonants do I have here? I have P, H, T, G, R, A, P, H, Y. These are the consonants. What are the vowels? I have O, then I have O again, then I have A. So O, O, A. Okay. Now if I have to break it into syllables, I pronounce this as pho, to, gra, phi. How many syllables do I have? I have 4 syllables, but I have only 3 vowels. So number of vowels doesn't signify number of syllable. Number of vowel sound signify number of syllable. So let's see how many vowel sounds do we have. So I need to break it into all the sounds. It starts with the first sound, pho. It's photo, photo, g, r, a, f, e. Okay, it's photography, photography. So how many vowel sounds do I have? 1, 2, 3 and 4. So photography. Please remember, this is where most of us make mistakes. Vowel sounds are equivalent to number of syllables. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. Photography. When you master this entire art of understanding consonant sound vis-a-vis understanding vowel sounds, and when you combine that in terms of syllable, your pronunciation will be absolutely perfect. The reason people fail to understand when somebody else is speaking is because of 2 to 3 reasons. One is you do not have the right pronunciation. One word may sound like something else, and we make a mistake in terms of comprehension. Grammatically, you may not be saying the right thing, and again, in terms of tense, in terms of verb, singular, plural, you make a mistake and it conveys a different meaning. You may not be using the right word in terms of vocabulary. When I talk about vocabulary, I'll give you a lot of examples where we end up using wrong words without understanding the context. And then we have fluency. Now, fluency will come when you have the right pronunciation, right grammar, and the right vocabulary. Okay, let's continue. So we looked at example. So pen has one syllable, pen. Then we have pencil, two syllables. Then we have computer, three syllables. And then we have technology. Now, how do I pronounce this? Technology. It's technology. And there are four syllables here. Okay. The point that I was making in terms of the last session was there are certain words which has pretty much the same pronunciation. Some of the word may have the same spelling, but it needs to be pronounced differently, and that is what it denotes differently in terms of parts of speech and in terms of context. Let me give you an example that will help you understand. We have a word which is project. I gave this example earlier as well. I can use this on a sentence, and it says, please project the presentation on the screen. It's not in the screen, it's on the screen. I can either use this particular sentence. Let me change the color so that you can understand that this is an example. Or I can say, please now this particular word is common between both the sentences, right? This is what we are talking about. Now, when I'm using the first sentence, I'm supposed to pronounce this with a stress where I say project. This is the word, but I need to stress on the second syllable. There are two syllables, right? But I need to stress on the second syllable. When I do that, it means it's a verb. Now, that's a rule of pronunciation. When I'm stressing on the second syllable, it's a verb. Okay? When I'm stressing on the first syllable, say for example, I'm stressing on this particular syllable, the first syllable, which is pro, that becomes a noun. This particular rule applies to every word which is spelt the same, but the shift of stress, I can either stress on the first syllable or the second syllable. So let me move this down so that we have the second example as the first one. So when I'm stressing on the first syllable, it becomes a noun. That means, please submit the project. I say project. This is project. Here I say, please project the presentation. Here I say, please submit the project. So when I say project, that becomes a noun. When I say project, that becomes a verb. So when you're shifting it, and there is a change in terms of the vowel sound as well. When I say project, I'm using per, r, and o, project. When I say project, I'm using per, r, o. So when I have project, it's an o sound. When I have project, I have an o sound. But the bigger aspect which you need to understand is the stress on which syllable. Like project and project, there are other examples. For example, subject. Okay, I'm going to move this down so that I can use the noun as the first example. So let me use the example. Biology is an interesting subject. I'm stressing on the first syllable. So I say biology is an interesting subject. I'm stressing on the first syllable. Okay. Now, I'm using another example. Please don't subject the students to any tests. So here my stress has moved to the second syllable. For example, when I say the exam is scheduled at 4 o'clock, the timings is subject to change depending on the circumstances. So that becomes a verb. Okay. Likewise, there are tons of such words where the shift in the sound will lead to change in the meaning. It could mean a noun, it could mean a verb. All right. Now, one word where a lot of us make mistake, where we do not have complete clarity, is this particular word. Okay. Now, let me get rid of this example here. Let me explain what are the two different types of pronunciation. I can pronounce this as now first of all there are two syllables, right? All right. Now I can either pronounce this as k or n, then tent. I can either pronounce this as content or I can pronounce this as content. So content, content. We don't really understand what to be used where. That is where we make a mistake. Now, when we pronounce this as content, the meaning it means an ingredient or index. For example, please give me the content for the training. Okay. Now, when I say content, let me change the color here. Now, when I say content, this means being happy. For example, are you content with the training? Okay. Now, that makes a big difference, right? So, we have the word content. I break it into two syllables. When I pronounce this as content, it means ingredient or index. When I pronounce this as that means happiness or being self-satisfied. So these are the aspects that you need to clearly remember when you pronounce the words. Okay. Now, this is what syllable stress is all about. In linguistics, stress is the relative emphasis that may be given to certain syllables in a word. So whenever you are stressing on a particular syllable, that means it's syllable stress. Now, there are certain rules to syllable stress. What are they? There's something called penultimate and there is something called anti-penultimate. So I'll talk about anti-penultimate later. What I want you to do is draw this diagram on your notebook to make a note of it. Penultimate means last but one or second last, right? So this is the word ending. What do we mean by word ending? So these are the word endings. There are a lot of English words that will end with any of these. Now when the rule says when a word ends with these as ending, the stress should be on the second last or the last but one syllable. Let me show you an example that will help you understand what do I mean by this. Okay, we are learning about, let me bring this down. Which rule we are looking at? We are looking at penultimate rule. When you have any word that's ending with IC, IOUS, EOUS, SION, TION, the stress should be on the second last syllable. So let's take a quick look at it. Okay. If I have a word which is panic, I will quickly change the format so that you can understand this better. Panic, tragic, magic, any more words that ends with IC? Picnic. Okay. The rule says in case if you have any word that's ending with IC, the stress should be on the last but one syllable. So let's break this. Panic is panic, which means I will stress on pa and it's pronounced as panic. Tragic, tragic, I will stress on tra. Magic, I will stress on ma. Picnic, I will stress on pick. Let me bring this down. Okay. Now what if I have a word which has more than two syllables? Then what happens? Let's take a look at it. Geographic. How many syllables do I have? Geographic. And the rule says if I have a word ending with IC, I need to stress on the second last syllable. So I'll pronounce this as geographic. If I have another word, photographic, somebody has a photographic memory. So what are the syllable break? It's photographic. And since it's ending with IC, I will stress on gra. So whatever is the word ending, like you saw, look at the word ending and stress on the previous one. So this is the word ending syllable, this is the previous one. Okay, let's look at IOUS now. Examples: pious. Now since this itself is a complete syllable, so it will not apply here. Okay. Conscious. How many syllables do I have? 2. And I will stress on conscious. Okay. Precious. How many syllables again? Precious. I will stress on pre. Same thing applies for EOUS as well. For example, I have a word gorgeous. Gorgeous, 2 syllable, I will stress on gore. SION, tension, pension. So how many syllables in tension? 2. Tension, I will stress on ten. If I have pension, I will stress on pen. So basically wherever I have this particular word ending, I will stress on the previous syllable. TION, again the same example. Station, so I will stress on stay. If I have more number of syllables, information, first I will break it in information. So where do I stress? I will stress on may. Information. If I have the word question, how many syllables? 2. Question. All right, and I will stress here, question. Clear? So the rule says if I have a word which is ending with any of these, the stress will be on the previous, the last but one. The second rule is anti-penultimate. Now what do we mean by anti-penultimate? In penultimate we have from the end the second one, anti-penultimate is third one. So the dot has moved, which means it will be the third one from the right. Now what are these sounds? Let's quickly take a look at it. These are the word endings. All right, so let's take a look at certain words where it ends with CY. For example, policy. How many syllables? 3. Policy. Now here the rule says I need to stress on the third from right, which means I will stress on PO. I just bought an insurance policy. Okay. TY. What if I have a word which is city, which only has 2 syllables? It will still take the stress on the first one. Okay. ICAL. Geographical. How many syllables do I have? Geographical. Now this fickle is coming up to 2 syllables, right? But this will still be combined as word ending, and this is the stress. Geographical. PHY. My favorite word. Photography. How many syllables? Photography. So this is my ending. I will stress here. Photography. GY. Technology. How many syllables do we have here? Technology. This is the ending. So I leave one, then I go to the next, and I pronounce this as technology. Meter. We all pronounce this as thermometer. Thermometer. It's not thermometer. It's thermometer, right? Now meter is pronounced as meter. It's thermometer. It's not thermometer, it's thermometer. So I will pronounce, or I will stress here, because meter itself has 2 syllables. Clear? So when you work on these aspects of syllable stress and when you understand these rules, you will be able to not only work on the pronunciation aspect but also on vocabulary. What I want you to do is make a note of these word endings. Number one, write down as many words as possible you can recollect out of your general knowledge of English communication. For example, I have the word which is ending with IC. Like I said, picnic, traffic, magic, tragic. Likewise, how many words can you think of? Write down those words, then practice the pronunciation. Alright, so these are the word endings. I want you to write at least 15 to 20 words for each word ending. IC, IOUS, EOUS, SION, TION. Then CY, TY, ICAL, PHY, GY, meter. I'm going to pause here so that you can make a note of this. And when you work on these words, that will also become a part of your assignment and you will learn vocabulary as well. Alright, so I hope this was helpful. Now pronunciation recap, we learnt about communication tree, how we need a language, language broken into sentences, sentences into words, words into sounds. We learnt about consonant sound, we have 24 consonant sound and 15 vowel sound. We also learned syllable, which is a unit of sound in every word, and syllable stress. So we are done with the first pillar. Now we move on to the second pillar, which is grammar. Now what do we mean by grammar? It's a system of a language, rules of a language. Now why do we face problem in terms of grammar? That is because of mother tongue influence. For example, if I'm thinking in a particular language, I do a literal translation to any other language that I'm speaking in. So what happens is the word order gets changed. When the word order is changing, it leads to grammatical issues, it leads to comprehension issues, whoever is hearing you or listening you. So when we are thinking in a language, we cannot directly translate or literally translate to any other language. That it doesn't work like that. For example, I spoke about this particular Telugu word which is Yendukante. I hear a lot why because when people talk they keep using why because. That why because they use because they are using a Telugu word directly translated into English. Please don't do that because it does not make sense, right? Like we ask what is your good name. Now there's nothing called a good name or bad name, it's just a name. So this happens because of mother tongue influence, and mother tongue is a language which we learn from childhood, and that is a language in which we are thinking, our subconscious mind. Alright? So it leads to a change in word order, it leads to loss of sentence integrity, misinterpretation and miscommunication. Now we need to understand the parts of speech. I'm going to shift over to another module which I have prepared for you guys. So we just saw that it's a rule of a language. Are there rules in English language? No, in fact no language has rules, but it's a system that you need to follow. Okay. Now common issues that we face in terms of grammar, like I said, mother tongue influence. Now we need to understand the parts of speech. These parts of speech exist in every language. So we have parts of speech. I have written down the parts of speech along with examples. The first one is noun. Noun is name, place, animal, thing. Now a city name or a person's name is all noun. Then we have pronoun. Pronoun is something that replaces a noun. Instead of using the noun again and again, I can use a pronoun. Adjective is something that qualifies the noun. For example, noun is Ravi, pronoun is he, adjective Ravi is a passionate leader. So what kind of leader? Passionate leader. Verb is anything that is an action. So he is driving his new BMW car. Like adjective qualifies the noun, adverb qualifies the verb. How is he driving? He is driving very fast. Then we have preposition. Preposition, like the word goes, position. So here the position in terms of geography, that means the place, also the time. So basically time and place. Ravi will leave for London at 8 p.m. So whatever you see is underlined in these examples are basically the parts of speech. Interjection, wow, wow, he will fly business class. It's basically an expression. And then you have conjunction, anything that joins two independent sentences or phrases. For example, Ravi and his director will go to UK. It could be Ravi will go to UK and his director will go to UK, but instead of writing that, I can just say Ravi and his director will go to UK. So these are the parts of speech. Now let me explain the types. Common noun, for example, the mountain is too high to climb. Sorry, the mountain is too tough to climb. I'm sorry, I read it incorrectly. So something that is very common in nature, that's common noun. Proper noun are names. Now these names are little complicated because these are pronounced differently in different parts of the world because of regional influence. So New Delhi is a capital city. In Hindi, New Delhi is pronounced as Nai Delhi, right? In English, the country Turkey, so we pronounce that as Turkey. But in different languages, it's pronounced differently. A name of a person can be pronounced differently. For example, the name April, it's a month, right? In French, it's pronounced as Avril. The name Clement is pronounced as Clement in French. So the names are pronounced differently. That's why don't focus on the pronunciation part. These are proper nouns and these has influence of the region. Abstract, something which you can't touch and feel, that's a noun. For example, fear is an obstacle, so fear is an abstract noun. Count, the bottle is filled with water. Anything that you can touch, anything that you can count easily is a count noun. But there is also non-count noun, something which you cannot count. For example, you cannot count oil or water or air, right? Now what do you do in these cases? To count a non-count noun, you need to take the help of count noun. For example, I have water. Now this is non-count noun. Now how do I count it? I need to use a count noun. For example, I have bottle, which is a count noun. In order to measure water or to count water, I need to make use of count noun. For example, please buy 3 bottles of water. Now I can add the number 3, that's because I am using a count noun here. Alright. Collective noun, something that is in group. For example, the team wants to celebrate. Okay. Now collective noun, you also need to understand the singular and the plural forms. There are certain words which doesn't have a plural form. For example, let me make it simple for you. Since we are talking about collective noun, I should definitely talk about singular and plural forms. The reason I use a PowerPoint because it's easier to display quickly rather than a board. Say for example, I have a word chair and the plural will become chairs, right? If I have computer, I can just say computers. If I have data, can I say datas? No, it remains data. If I say information, it still remains information. If I say furniture,